I came home earlier than usual that evening. It was not planned. I just finished a project at work ahead of schedule. And instead of killing time at the gym or grabbing a drink, I decided to surprise Emma. We had not had a real evening together in weeks. And I missed her. Stupid, right? I parked down the street, a habit from living in a neighborhood where parking was a war zone. The house was dark except for the faint glow coming from the living room. That was odd. Emma always turned on more lights. Naming she hated how our house felt like a horror movie at night. I smiled a little, picturing her curled up on the couch, lost in some mindless show. I'd sneak in, grab her from behind, kiss her neck. Something playful to remind her we were still us. But as I stepped up to the front door, something stopped me. It was barely noticeable at first, just a flicker of movement through the blinds. A shadow shifting unnaturally fast. Then another. I froze my hand on the doorknob. I did not want to believe it. Maybe she had a friend over. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe laughter, lone male. My stomach turned to stone. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to walk away. To pretend I never heard it. Get back in my car and drive until the sound of it was erased from my memory. But I did not. I opened the door. The scene that unfolded in front of me was a sick joke. Emma was sitting on the couch too close to a man I had never seen before. He was leaning in. His arm draped lazily across the back of the couch like he belonged there. Like my house was his. A half-empty bottle of wine sat on the coffee table. 2 glasses, hers and his. Emma turned her head, eyes locking onto mine. And in that split second I saw not shock, not guilt, not panic, annoyance, like I was interrupting something. Her home early, she said, setting her glass down with an infuriating amount of calm. The guy beside her shifted but did not move away. He did not look guilty. He did not even seem surprised. Because he knew. He knew about me, about us, and he was not afraid. I felt the heat rise in my chest. A storm of emotions too tangled to separate. Anger, betrayal, disbelief. My voice came out low, controlled, but sharp. Who the hell is this? Emmy sighed. Sighed like I was asking her to take out the trash instead of demanding an answer for why a stranger was getting comfortable in my house with my wife. She glanced at the man and something passed between them. A silent conversation, a decision. Then she turned back to me, standing up slowly, stretching like she was bored of this already. This is Jake, she said, and we need to talk. I stared at her, waiting, daring for her to say something that would make sense. That would explain why some guy named Jake was sitting in my house on my couch, drinking my wife's wine like he belonged here. But she just stood there, arms crossed, weight shifted to one hip, looking at me like I was the one making a scene. Jake leaned back against the couch, completely unfazed. He did not try to introduce himself, did not stammer out an excuse, did not move. He just watched. The way a man watches a game, he already knows he is winning. Anna exhaled through her nose. Like she could not believe she actually had to explain this to me. Look, I was going to tell you. Tell me what? My voice came out sharper than I intended. She tilted her head slightly, assessing me, choosing her words. That this, she motioned vaguely between her and Jake, has been going on for a while, and now I'm done pretending. My stomach bottomed out, done pretending. She did not just cheat. She was not coming up with some half-assed excuse, blaming alcohol, or a mistake, or even me. She was admitting it, owning it, like it was just some inevitable conclusion I had been too blind to see. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, my fists clenching at my sides. Every rational thought was being drowned out by the sheer audacity of what she was saying. So what? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. You bring him here? To our house. Emma shrugged. It's not like we were going to keep playing house forever. Something inside me snapped. I turned to Jake, finally acknowledging the smug, useless piece of garbage who was still sitting there. Not even remotely uncomfortable. You've got some nerve. I said, my voice low, steady. He smirked. Smirked. I took a step forward before I could stop myself. Jake finally moved, straightening up slightly, like he was deciding if he should stand or stay seated. Emma stepped between us, rolling her eyes. Oh my God, stop. Her tone was dripping with exasperation. Like I was the child here. I'm not doing this dramatic crap. Okay? I wanted to tell you in a way that was civil. But you came home early, and now here we are. Civil. I almost laughed. Because there was something so unbelievably disgusting about hearing my wife talk about civility while standing between me and the guy she had been screwing behind my back. You do not even care. Do you? I asked. My voice did not even sound like my own anymore. Emma's expression did not change. I care, she said, but it was empty. Just words. But not the way you want me to. Jake was watching me, measuring me, waiting to see if I was the kind of guy who would start throwing punches. I could see it in his eyes. He was testing me. And the worst part? He was not afraid. Because Emma had already picked him. The realization hit me like a punch to the ribs. She had moved on. Maybe she had been gone for a long time, and I was just the last idiot still standing in a marriage that had ended before I even knew it was over. And suddenly I felt tired. So goddamn tired. I stepped back, inhaling sharply through my nose, swallowing down every instinct screaming at me to say something cruel, to break something, to make her hurt the way I was hurting. But I did not. Instead, I looked at her, really looked at her for what felt like the first time in months. And I saw it. She was not mine anymore. Maybe she never had been. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Emma did not look guilty. She did not look sad. She just waited. For what? For me to storm out? For me to scream? Right. Big? Jake sat there like he had all the time in the world, fingers drumming lazily against his knee. Like this was his house now. I swallowed the rage bubbling in my throat and forced my voice to stay even. How long? Emma raised an eyebrow. How long what? She wanted to make me say it. Clenched my jaw. How long have you been sleeping with him? Jake smirked. But Emma? She did not react at all. She just sighed. Like she was exhausted by the conversation. I do not see how that matters. I laughed. A hollow, bitter sound. It matters to me. She shifted her weight, crossing her arms. 6 months. My stomach twisted. 6 months. Half a year. Half a year of lies. Of kissing me goodbye in the mornings. Of laughing at my stupid jokes. Of sitting across from me at dinner. Nodding along while I talked about my day. All while sleeping with him. I ran a hand through my hair. Exhaling slowly. Wow. That's all I could say. Just wow. Because there was nothing else. Nothing that could fix this. Nothing that could erase the absolute disrespect she had just spit in my face. Emma shifted, watching me carefully. Look. I did not want it to come out like this. Oh, do not pull that crap. I snapped. The anger finally breaking through. You did not want to tell me at all. You were forced to. Your expression flickered for half a second. Just half a second before settling back into that calm, infuriating mask. I would have told you when the time was right. Jake scoffed under his breath, and I snapped my gaze toward him. You got something to say? He tilted his head slightly. Amused. Just that the time's never right, man. Like we were buddies. Like he was not sitting in my goddamn house. Ruining my goddamn marriage. Acting like he was doing me a favor. I stepped toward him before I could stop myself. And this time he stood up. Emma immediately put a hand on my chest. Her palm pressing against me like I was some rabid animal she had to contain. Seriously? She huffed. You think fighting him is going to change anything? I ignored her. My eyes locked onto Jake's. He was taller than me by maybe an inch. Bigger. Broader. A guy who spent more time lifting weights than reading books. He was not backing down. Good. I wanted him to try something. I wanted him to give me a reason. But he did not. He just smirked again. Like I was some joke he had already won. And suddenly it all clicked. I could knock him out cold. I could break his nose. Make him bleed all over my floor. Make him feel 1 ounce of what I was feeling right now. But it would not change a thing. Emma would not run to me. She would not scream his name, horrified, begging me to stop. She'd just watch. Maybe she'd even enjoy it. And that made me feel something worse than anger. Disgust. Not at him. With her. I took a step back. You know what? I said, voice cold. You deserve each other. Emma did not react. Because she agreed. And that was when I knew I had already lost, that I did not say another word. I turned on my heel and walked out, slamming the door behind me so hard the walls shook. I do not know what I expected. Maybe for Emma to chase after me. Maybe for her to shout something. Anything. Some final desperate attempt to explain, to justify, to fix what she had just shattered into a million irreparable pieces. But nothing happened. Just silence. The weight of it settled over me as I stepped onto the porch, breathing in the cool night air like I had been drowning inside that house. My house. Or at least it had been mine. Now felt like a place I had no business being. I walked to my car. My legs moving on autopilot. My mind a mess of static. It was not until I was behind the wheel, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached, that it fully hit me. She did not care. Not about the marriage. Not about what I had just seen. Not about me. She had looked me in the eyes and admitted to 6 months of betrayal like it was nothing. No guilt. No remorse. Just cold, disgusting honesty. And the worst part? I had spent so much time making excuses for her. Every late night. Every sudden change in plans. Every vague answer about where she was or who she was with. I had trusted her. I should have seen it sooner. I should have known. I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror, barely recognizing the man looking back at me. His eyes were dull, tired. His jaw was clenched so tight it looked painful. His face was blank. Completely drained of everything except one single piercing thought. What now? Could not go back inside. Not after that. Not ever. But this was not just some high school breakup. This was my life. My marriage. My home. My entire reality had just collapsed in the span of a few minutes. And now I had nowhere to go. I yanked my phone out of my pocket, my fingers moving before my brain could catch up. I needed someone. Anyone. I called Matt. He picked up on the second ring. Yo, what's up? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Because how the hell do you even say it? How do you put this into words? Man, his tone shifted instantly. Sharp with concern. What's wrong? I exhaled through my nose, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. She cheated, I said, the words finally cutting through my throat like glass. For 6 months. And she does not even ng care. Silence. Then a low, controlled, dangerous breath. Where are you? I swallowed. Still outside the house. I'm coming. I started to say he did not have to, that I was fine, but the words would not come because I was not fine. I was anything but fine. But for the first time since walking through that front door, I finally let myself feel it. The absolute earth-shattering heartbreak. Matt showed up in less than 15 minutes, which meant he had either been speeding like hell or was already near my place. Either way, I did not care. The second his truck pulled up, he barely had it in park before he was out, heading straight for me. His expression was pure rage, not the kind that explodes instantly, but the kind that simmers slow and lethal, waiting for the right moment to detonate. Tell me you at least wrecked his face. His voice was low, controlled, but his fists were already clenched like he was prepared to finish the job. I let out a dry, bitter laugh, running a hand through my hair. Did not touch him. Matt stared at me like I had just spoken a foreign language. You retelling me you walked in on your wife with another guy in your own damn house and you just let it go? I leaned back against my car, my limbs suddenly feeling heavy. What was the point? Matt shook his head, exhaling sharply, pacing like he was trying to burn off the anger for me. So that's it. He threw his arms out. You just letting them win? I hated how that sounded, but I did not have a response because in a way I had already lost. Emma had made her choice. She was not crying. She was not fighting for me. Hell, she had not even tried to soften the blow. She had stood there, arms crossed, barely bothering to look guilty. Like I was some obstacle she had finally gotten rid of. Matt sighed, rubbing his hands over his face. Come on, man. Let us go. Go where? Anywhere but here. He nodded toward my house. Unless you planning on walking back in there and acting like nothing happened? That hit me harder than I expected. Because what was I supposed to do? Walk back in. Sleep in the same bed where she had probably been with him. Eat at the same table where she had sat. Smiling at me. Pretending? Pretending so well I had never even suspected? No. No, I could not do it. I pushed off the car, swallowing down the bitter lump in my throat. Let us go. Matt nodded, not saying anything else. He did not need to. I got in his truck, slamming the door shut behind me. As we pulled away, I did not look back. Because that was not my home anymore. It was just a place where my marriage died. Matt did not ask questions. He just drove, one hand gripping the wheel, the other drumming against his knee like he was trying to hold something in. The truck was filled with the low hum of the radio, but neither of us spoke. What was there to say? I stared out the window. My thoughts a tangled mess of rage, exhaustion, and something else I did not want to admit to pain. Deep, aching, unbearable pain, the kind that sat in your chest like a weight, pressing down harder with every breath. I had lost her. No, she had thrown me away. Finally, Matt broke the silence. You gonna call a lawyer? I let out a hollow breath. Have not thought that far. He glanced at me, his jaw tight. You need to. First thing tomorrow. I nodded. He was right. Of course, he was right. The idea of divorce felt too final, too real. A few hours ago, I had a wife, a life. Now I had nothing but the clothes on my back and a woman who did not even care that she had destroyed me. Matt pulled into his driveway, killing the engine. His house was dark, the porch light flickering slightly. I had been here 100 times before, but tonight, stepping out of his truck, I felt like a stranger, like I did not belong anywhere anymore. He did not wait for me to say anything. I grabbed his keys and walked to the front door. Come on. I followed him inside, the familiar scent of old leather and pine hitting me immediately. The living room was the same as always, messy, comfortable, like a place that had been lived in. Couch is yours, Matt said, tossing his keys onto the counter. Unless you want the guest room, I shook my head. Couch is fine. Matt hesitated, like he wanted to say something but was not sure if he should. And finally he exhaled. I do not get it. I sank onto the couch, rubbing a hand over my face. Get what? He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. How she did this? Why she did this? I did not have an answer. And honestly, I did not want to talk about it. Matt sighed, shaking his head. You should have hit him. I almost laughed. What good would that have done? His eyes darkened. Would have made you feel better. Would it have? Maybe. Maybe not. It would not have changed the fact that my wife, ex-wife, eventually had chosen someone else. Look, Matt said, his voice softer now. I know you probably do not want to hear this, but you're better off. I let out a bitter breath. Then why does it feel like I just lost everything? Matt did not answer, because there was not an answer. And for the first time that night, I realized the truth. This was not just about Emma and Jake. It was about me and what the hell I was supposed to do next. I did not sleep that night. I tried. I lay on Matt's couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the house settling. I shut my eyes, willed my mind to stop. But the second I drifted, I saw her. Emma, not the Emma I had just walked out on. Not the woman who had shrugged off our marriage like an old jacket she did not want any more. No, I saw the old Emma. The one who used to kiss me in the mornings, who used to steal fries off my plate when she thought I was not looking, who used to grab my hand in the middle of a crowded room just because she wanted to feel me there. That Emma did not exist anymore. Maybe she never did. I sat up, exhaling sharply. My chest felt too tight. My skin too hot. I needed air. Quietly. I grabbed my keys from the coffee table and slipped out the door. The night was cool. The streets empty. Nothing but the distant hum of a passing car. I did not know where I was going. I just drove. At some point, I ended up outside my house. I did not even realize where I was until I saw the porch light. The sight of it made my stomach turn. But I did not leave. I sat there, parked across the street, staring at the place that used to be mine. And then, through the living room window, I saw them. Emma and Jake. She was laughing. Laughing. Not a guilty, nervous laugh. Not the forced kind someone makes when they are caught in something awful. No, this was real. Open. Carefree. The kind of laugh I had not heard from her in years. Like she had never been happier. Something inside me cracked. I reached for the glove compartment, yanked it open, and pulled out the envelope I had grabbed from home earlier that night in a daze. It had been sitting in the drawer of my desk for years. I had never had a reason to use it. Until now. I took a deep breath, then stepped out of the car. The walk to the front door felt surreal. Like I was not even in my own body. I knew Emma and Jake were still in the living room, too caught up in each other to hear me. That was fine, because I was not here for them. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the letter, the one I had just written an hour ago, when I realized there was only one way this could end, and slid it under the door. Then next to it, I placed a single red rose. But for love, for goodbye, then I turned and walked away, because this was me leaving first. The next morning, my phone blew up. I woke up to it vibrating violently on the coffee table. The screen lighting up with her name, Emma. I stared at it for a long moment. My body still heavy with exhaustion. Last night felt like a fever dream. Like I had sleepwalked through it in some trance. But the empty envelope on the table, the one that had held the letter I left for her, reminded me that it was real, that I had actually done it. I did not answer. A minute later, another call. Then another, then a text. Emma. What the hell is this? I smirked bitterly. She got the message. Then, good, I pushed myself up from the couch. My joints stiff. My head pounding from lack of sleep. That was already in the kitchen, pouring coffee into a chipped mug. He glanced at me, then at my phone and raised an eyebrow. She see it. I let out a breath. Yeah. Matt took a sip of his coffee. Unimpressed. You gonna answer? I let the phone ring out. No. He nodded approvingly, setting the mug down. Good. But Emma was not done. More texts rolled in, each one sharper than the last. Emma. Seriously, what the hell is this? Emma, you read being dramatic. Emma. Can we just talk like adults? Emma. This is childish. Childish. I laughed under my breath. I was childish. I left a letter and a single rose. That was it. No screaming, no public meltdown, no revenge. Just words on paper. A final goodbye. But it was enough to get under her skin. Matt watched me, waiting to see what I'd do. I could feel the tension in his stance. Like he was waiting for me to cave. Maybe before last night I would have. Maybe if she had shown 1 ounce of real regret, I would have picked up. But she did not. She did not call to apologize. She called because she hated the fact that I had the last word. The phone rang again. I picked it up this time. But instead of answering, I let it ring for a few more seconds, just enough for her to think I might say something. Then I declined the call. A second later, a new message popped up. Emma, wow, you're really doing this? Yeah. I really was. The silence between us became a war. Emma kept calling, kept texting. Each message growing sharper, angrier, like she was trying to claw back control of a situation she had already lost. She expected me to react, to fight, to do anything but walk away with my head held high. I did not. By noon, the messages shifted. Emma. I do not get why you're reacting like this. Emma. We were already done. You just did not want to admit it. Emma. You're remaking this so much worse than it has to be. Worse, worse. I clenched my jaw, my fingers tightening around the phone. She had been sneaking around for 6 months. She had lied to my face over and over again. She had brought another man into my house and sat next to him like he was her husband. And now I was the one making things worse. Matt glanced at me from across the room, reading my face like an open book. Let me guess, she is still talking. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. She is trying to act like she did me a favor. Matt snorted. Of course she is. I set my phone down before I could throw it. It is almost funny. Matt raised an eyebrow. You laughing yet? No. He nodded. Did not think so. For a while, I just sat there, staring at my phone like it might suddenly make sense. But nothing about this made sense. Not her messages. Not her audacity. Not the fact that she was still trying to control the narrative even now. Then one last message. Emma, fine. Do whatever you want. But do not act like you're some victim. You knew we were not happy. I blinked. My blood ran cold. I knew that was the worst part of all of this. Not the betrayal. Not the lies. Not even the way she had looked at me like I was a problem she had finally gotten rid of. It was the fact that she really believed this was my fault. That somewhere in her twisted, selfish mind, she had rewritten our entire marriage into something convenient for her. I took a slow breath, let the rage settle, then picked up my phone. For the first time all day, I responded. Me, Yuri, right? I knew. Me. That's why I left first. Then I blocked her number. Matt watched the whole thing unfold, his lips twitching into a small, approving smirk. Damn, you actually did it. I leaned back in my chair, feeling something strange settle in my chest. Relief. Yeah. I said I did. The next few days felt like waking up from a coma. Everything was the same, but I was not. The world kept moving. Cars kept honking. People kept going to work. But I felt like I had stepped out of my own life and was watching it from the outside. Detached. Numb. Free. Emma did not try to reach out again. She would not. Not after I blocked her. Not after she realized there was no fight left to win. Matt kept checking on me, expecting me to crack. But I did not. Not in the way he thought I would. Yeah, it hurt. Of course it did. 8 years of my life had just gone up in smoke. But the thing was, I was not mourning her. I was mourning the man I had been before I walked through that front door and saw the truth. The man who still believed Emma was someone worth loving. That guy? He was gone. On the third day, I went back to the house. Not to see her, not to see them. Just to get what was mine. The driveway was empty. Good. I did not hesitate as I walked through the front door with a set of moving boxes. My steps steady. My head clear. Everything looked the same. The couch where she had sat with Jake. Her glass of wine in hand. The kitchen where we used to eat dinner. The hallway that led to the bedroom where she had probably whispered his name. None of it was mine anymore. I took what mattered. My clothes. My documents. A few personal things. Photo albums. A watch my father gave me. A book Emma had never bothered to open. And then, before I walked out for the last time, I did something I never thought I would do. I left her something. Not a note. Not a speech. Just my wedding ring. sitting neatly on the kitchen counter next to her half-empty bottle of wine. No words needed. I walked out without looking back. When I stepped outside, I took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill my lungs. The sky was clear, the sun bright. It was a beautiful day. For the first time in a long time, I let myself feel it. No anger. No grief. No bitterness. Just relief. Because I was not just leaving the house. I was leaving her. For good.